Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be part of the WCG US Finals once again, and we have Louder going up against Artosis. Louder starting in the bottom left-hand corner as the red protoss. Bottom right-hand corner we have Artosis as the white terran, and a little bit of friendly trash talking going around here. It looks like Louder is going to call Artosis' face bad after calling it ad and misspelling initially. And actually, between the two, these, out of all the competitors, actually, I'd say these guys have the friendliest rivalry out of all. They've been around for absolutely ever. As far as the actual competitive nature of this particular matchup, I think it's going to mean a little bit more for Louder to take these matches than Artosis. Artosis, yeah, he's come at last season, he just didn't play very well. It felt like he was kind of off balance, wasn't really all that well practiced, maybe distracted in Korea, things like that. But this time, it seems like he's much more confident, much more well practiced, really more on top of his game going into it altogether. And yeah, he's not really on the line here because this is not his weak matchup. Louder is in a bracket with three other top Terran, and that is his weakest matchup. He has trouble executing against Terran in the late mid-game and late game in general, and that's where he likes to play his match, is play very safe, play very steady, and get into the late games, particularly in land setting. So we'll see if Louder's ability to just, for whatever reason, when the nerves are on, whenever there's a pressure situation, he just picks up his game. Let's see if that happens here and he can pull out a win. Beating Artosis, especially early on, would be a really big ego boost, particularly when he's going up to face maybe Nayokin or specifically Idra, and Idra's is really the favorite for this entire tournament. And Artosis and Idra's style very, very similar. Although Idra a little bit higher level of execution right now because he's, again, been practicing crazy amounts at the, CJ, I almost said Eastro house, CJ Entis house. Actually, Artosis has been in the CJ Entis house, perhaps catching tips here and there. And it looks like Artosis is just going to go with the steady plan. He tends to be a very safe player. Looks like very clever play here from Louder. Louder knowing that Artosis is a little bit safer player, going to go for a 14 Nexus, try to catch the early economic lead on a very macro-based map. Just in case you weren't aware, this is Colosseum II, very easy to take third, which between these two guys that could favor more of Artosis' gameplay than Louder. Louder, again, tends to play safe, tends to play steady, but Artosis really loves that shell turn style, getting his mech army up, getting a lot of upgrades, and then just kind of letting, again, opponents come at him and pummel, and just playing kind of that safe defensive style. At this stage, he's going to have to play a little bit uncomfortable. I think he's going to want to go into Louder once he scouts this 12 Nexus. It's going to be a while before he scouts it, though. Louder getting lucky and doing the immediate scout with his probe. Let's see if Artosis kind of gets a sense of this and adjusts. That scout wasn't after the 9 pylons. The timing might feel a little bit off. So you might think there might have been a bridge there. It looks like he's just going to go through the standard scouting pattern and unfortunately end up seeing Louder last, which is going to be a little bit difficult because he's probably going to make his tech decisions before he switches around. It looks like he does have 3 gas, at 3 SCV on gas, so he might be transitioning into a 2 factory push, which could be a clever maneuver because that's not something you typically see Artosis do, only producing a single Marine here on the front door, though, attacking that probe. Wow, that probe actually almost getting taken out and finally backing off. It looks like that Marine really wants to hunt it down, though, and getting a little bit greedy and pushing out there. Second Nexus up, looks like a single probe actually transferring back. A little bit of an early transfer there from Louder with just a couple troops, and ended up sending a probe home a little bit too soon. First Zealot produced, looks like he's going to run up and put on some pressure. So Louder actually being aggressive after the 12 Nex. Usually you want to kind of store up troops and be a little bit more defensive. I think he's trying to give more of an impression that he's playing a little bit more standard. And it looks like Artosis is in fact going for a 2 factory push. He's already got that first machine shop down, planting that second factory. So, and let's see how this pays off for him. Looks like that Zealot is not anywhere near stopping that SCV scout. Let's see if that SCV scout immediately goes to north and checks for that Nexus. Yeah, going to head right up there, see that Nexus, and now Artosis has to be grinning. He knows he's in a pretty good situation to execute this build, and it's going to be up to Louder to use some really nice micro to fend this off, and he needs to push his troops as far up the field as possible, as quickly as possible right now to kind of to deal with this. First of all, he didn't get the scout in, he doesn't know what Artosis is up to. He might be playing kind of on assumption here, thinking, okay, Artosis tends to be a safe player, maybe he just went for something safe here, maybe he's just going for a standard fast expansion, so maybe I'm economically ahead, but he really can't risk that. Starting to push to the front. Looks like, let's see if he can get a couple more gateways down. Really, I think it might be wise even to push to 2 more gateways once he stops this push. if he stops this push, I guess. It's going to be, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. 2 tanks being produced, so it looks like 2 machine shops down, a very heavy tank push. Let's see if Artosis decides to switch it back up to mine and speed upgrade immediately after this. And this is actually one of those rushes I'm not very familiar with, because usually you'll see, okay, there's actually the mine upgrade. Usually you'll see the single tank and then maybe 1 tank to follow, more marine heavy, but Artosis mixing it up a little and producing 3 tanks first and then putting in the vulture support after that. And the tank's actually not going to have siege, but the 2 tanks are going to be able to defend against these dragoons on the high ground. Unfortunately, with the 2 tanks in the mix and the delayed mine plus vulture speed, that will give Louder some time to get some troops out. And on Colosseum, with this very blockable ridge, that might provide a little bit more of a defensive structure for Louder to work with. So 3 tanks out in the field. Already a vulture alongside. I think Louder already knows something's up because he was facing 2 tanks a little bit earlier. I don't know if he got a spot on the 3rd. And building proxy pylons to the north. Kind of curious what this move is about here. He's already got the robotics facility inside of his base, putting down the 3rd gateway now. Let's see if he can continue with if he's going to have enough troops. Right now he's really outnumbered, 3 even with just this flat troop count. If Artosis moves out, which it looks like he's going to, with just this, with some nice mines, Louder's going to have a really, really difficult time fighting this off. In a straight-up fight, he just can't engage. He needs more troops on the ground to try to fight this off. That looks like that Zealot's going to get taken out in transition here. The Vulture's easily able to take it out. So it's going to be down to just a handful of Dragoons to take on 3 tanks and a lot of Vultures here. Artosis should be able to get some pressure done. He's going up to the high ground, interestingly enough, so it looks like he wants to go sieging from that corner, maybe take out the gateways from there. Louder right on top of it has the Dragoons kind of spread out. A couple mines out of position. I don't think that's going to be along that Dragoon pathing route, but the Vulture's running in, starting to attack the Dragoons, getting a little bit separated here. 3 tanks from around the corner. Mines absolutely everywhere. Already a single Dragoon taken out. All these Dragoons absolutely melting, and you can see Artosis' attack really paying off here. Still has several Vultures out in the field, still has his tanks moving up, and Louder in a lot of trouble here. Does have 3 Dragoons out in the field, but the question is how long is this going to last? Mines right on the front door, trying to brush them in, and it looks like siege tech to follow. Louder in a lot of trouble. He does have observers to help deal with the mines, but he has siege tanks just chilling right on top of his gateways, and he can't take more than 3 hits on any of these Dragoons. And it looks like as soon as the Dragoons are going to be spawning out of this gateway here to the right, they're just going to immediately be picked off by these tanks on this ridge. And an SCV actually building in the corner, and Artosis really in a dominant position off the corner here. More gateways being built to the south. Louder in a lot of trouble trying to build some gateways in the background to provide a little bit of defense. He needs to actually build a pylon in that corner, otherwise he's going to have some unpowered gateways to the north. And Louder putting down an additional nexus to the north, which is extremely greedy at this stage of play. He's already got some unpowered gateways inside of his base. I don't even know that he's going to be able to fight this attack off, let alone fight the continuous attack. I'm not sure this is the best time to be spending 400 minerals out in the field trying to get a shuttle up so he can at least deal with those tanks on the corner. But Artosis is investing a lot in this attack. This is the death blow or anything. So if somehow Louder can fight this off, which I really do not think is very likely, he will end up taking this match. But honestly, not looking good right now. More mines being planted. This Nexus is probably going to be taken out to the north, and Artosis putting down additional factories. So he's really pushing this in. And right now, Louder does not have really anything producing. So I think Artosis is actually going to take this match fairly comfortably here on Colosseum to go up 1-0. So really nice match from him altogether. Yeah, there's nothing Louder can really do to push out of this situation. I'm a little bit confused by this play to the north. Looks like he's going to rebuild his base entirely with Nexuses in the upper left-hand corner. So he's just completely rebuilding. He's like, okay, I know I'm dead in this bottom left-hand corner. Let me try to rebuild, cut my losses, and see how long it takes Artosis to find me and wipe me out. He's really going to be playing from the back corner, but I gotta say I like his tenacity. Unfortunately, I don't think he's even going to have 4 probes out. Looks like he's just going to try to mine as much as he can off this base, rebuild as much as he can, putting down a ton of gateways and a cybernetics core. So interesting play here from Louder. It looks like he realized he wasn't going to be able to hold off that factory push with those 3 tanks. He knew he just had too small a troop count, and instead his strategy is now to completely rebuild and completely fall back and hope that Artosis just overcommits with troops. And it looks like that is the case, at least at this stage. I don't know how Louder's planning on fighting off the follow-up attack, because he's still not going to have it's going to be very difficult to get enough troops out in the field. Maybe he can get a forge down and get some cannons up on the ridge and just delay as long as possible. It looks like right now Artosis has to be confused why he's not GGing here. Maybe he just thinks he's being belligerent in a WCG match, just doesn't want to lose it. Louder just desperately trying to mine as much as possible, not going to really pull anything out. And I think Artosis is going to be somewhat confused once he wipes everything out in this bottom left-hand corner. But theoretically here, Louder is in a superior economic position in this upper left-hand base. He's got, well, in theory, he doesn't have the probe saturation really to match Artosis. Artosis, as you can see, very well saturated at his base, but Artosis not following up with any expansion, so it will be 2 bases to 1. Louder will have an opportunity to catch up. I don't think he's going to be able to stop the troops in transition, though. So it looks like